This is the story of how one quiet yes changed everything. My time after high school probably sounds similar to most young adults trying to figure out what they want to do with the rest of their life. I went to a local college, worked a minimum wage job, spent time with friends I knew since junior high school, and eventually turned 21 and could legally drink and enter bars. That was until I met the woman that would eventually become my wife. Who knew that my future would begin with a beer, a karaoke machine, and Crocodile Rock? I managed to successfully stalk her for the next month or so, and a year later, we were married. Within the first year of married life, we had our first child, and I still hadn't found a job that I felt would provide us with enough income. I thought I wanted a job in the medical field and was going to school to be a surgical assistant. This is when a couple of things happened. The wife of the uncle that I mentioned became sick. She was going to die unless she received a lung transplant. My uncle and his family decided not to do it. I was confused and frustrated at the time. I never spoke to them about it, but instead jumped to my own conclusions. Did the doctors use the fact that he was a preacher against him? Did they talk them out of it? Shortly after this, I was in a surgery with two doctors I had never met that spoke a language I couldn't understand. This led to frustration, and they began to yell at me in the operating room. That was it. I was done. I walked out of the school and had to find a new path to support my family. I had met a guy who was older than me but worked on computers for a living. He really enjoyed it and said that he made good money. Well, I was born and raised on video games, so I saw this as a really good idea and chose to pursue it. It was a wise decision, and this path would become the career needed to support my wife and two children. One thing I didn't realize at the time was that God was not part of our life. My wife and I had dated, married, had children, but had never been to church together. I was working for a Fortune 100 company, had a nice big house and a couple of cars. The work was stressful, but it paid well. It was at this time when my wife realized what we were missing. I don't think we really spoke about God much at all. She said that she was going to attend a church and take the kids with her. I had no interest at the time, maybe because I was still frustrated that my uncle, the preacher, lost his wife. But more than likely, I just didn't see the need to go. This went on for about a month or so. Then my wife told me that she really liked the church and had met some really good people our age with children that were around the same age as ours. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and asked me to go with her and the kids. I couldn't say no. Saying yes to my wife at this point in time would begin a series of events that would change my life. We started going to church as a family. We planned our week around it. We went 3 days a week and spent time with the friends we met at church. We started listening to Christian music with the kids. It really had a positive effect on us. Then something happened. During the sermon, the pastor asked everyone if they were positive that they would go to heaven when they died. He pressed a bit further. "Are you 100% positive?" I was stunned. Being honest with myself, I couldn't say yes. I had doubts. How could anyone be certain? I was so shocked that I told my wife to attend the Bible study session with our friends, and I would join her in a bit. I went to find our associate pastor, John, to talk. It was then that I told him I couldn't say yes to the question Pastor Day had asked the congregation. Brother John and I spoke for a while. I was brutally honest and open with him. It was on this day that I could no longer keep up the facade, and with a humble heart and tears in my eyes, I gave my life to Christ. Now I had to face everyone. I had been attending the church for over a year and felt like I was just pretending. I was too embarrassed to join the group with my wife and just sat outside in the hall. Our friends were pretty awesome and didn't judge me, but instead encouraged me. It was pretty cool. Life was looking pretty good. Our family was actively involved in church. I had found my career and our kids were growing up. Then came the first test. My job at the Fortune 100 company came to an end. I knew it was a risk when I went to work for them, but everyone that worked for the company in our state was laid off. They decided not to bid for the state contract and, instead, would leave the state altogether. Well, that sucked. I had to come home, face my wife, and tell her that I no longer have a job. She was awesome. She didn't get upset at all. She smiled, looked at me, and said, "We will be fine." The IT job market where we lived was really slow at the time. We had just survived the Y2K software bug that seemed to frighten the entire world, and jobs were hard to find. I needed to find a job. The company that laid me off did have a severance package. I think it was about 8 weeks' pay. It was difficult to find a job, but one of my new church family members knew a woman that was looking for basic IT support help. This job came with a 40% pay cut from my previous job, but I could do this type of work in my sleep with absolutely zero stress. We prayed about it, and I took the job. The interesting part is that the money I received from my old employer perfectly covered the gap while I was without a job. I think I missed a total of 8 hours worth of pay. God had helped us through this time, and we were excited to see Him do it. We developed a plan. With the reduction in pay, we decided to sell our dream house and buy one that was 2 doors down from my wife's grandmother. She had become a widow, and being so close would allow us to take care of her. We just needed to get our house ready to put on the market. That's when our church family really showed up. They invaded our house one Saturday with helping hands, chainsaws, and a wood chipping truck. They helped us clear up dead and fallen trees. It was amazing. I would not have been able to do this without them. I was humbled. Everyone that helped us out knew I was not the type of guy that would ever ask for help. And to think that all of this was possible because I said yes to my wife's plea to go to church with her. We sold the house, purchased a house from my father-in-law that was 2 doors down from his mom so we could help take care of her. Of course, the church family helped us move. Those people were awesome. However, the group began to get smaller. Career opportunities would lead families to move as they continued to mature. We were excited for them, but our group dynamic was changing. I had been at my new job for a year when they hired a new guy named Brian. We ended up becoming friends, and he invited me to his church's Christmas performance. It was amazing. I started taking my wife and kids, and they enjoyed the church as well. So we officially switched churches. Little did I know how this would affect the rest of my life.